Today we're talking about something real special, Thanksgiving in Appalachia. Now, I ain't talking about your picture-perfect magazine spread with a golden turkey and matching napkin rings. I'm talking about the real deal, the kind of Thanksgiving my grandparents remember, where you ate what you had, thanked God for it, and went to bed with a full belly and a grateful heart. Welcome back to Legends from the Holler. If you grew up in the mountains or you've got roots here, you know that Thanksgiving looked a whole lot different than what you see on TV. So grab you a cup of coffee, settle in, and let me tell you about how we really gave thanks in the hollers. Now, let's start with the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the turkey that wasn't in the room. See? A lot of folks think Thanksgiving means turkey, but up here in the mountains, that bird was more of a luxury than a tradition. You couldn't just run down to the grocery store in 1940 if you wanted meat on the table. You better have hunted it, raised it, or traded for it. So, what did people actually eat? Squirrel and dumplings. I'm dead serious. My grandma told me that some years her daddy would take my great-uncles out the week before Thanksgiving, and they'd come back with a mess of squirrels. She said her mama would make the best squirrel and dumplings you ever put in your mouth. Tender meat, rich broth, and dumplings so fluffy they'd melt on your tongue. That was their Thanksgiving feast, and they were grateful for every bite. Country ham was another big one, especially if your family had done a hog killing earlier that fall. You'd have that salt-cured ham hanging in the smokehouse and come Thanksgiving. You'd slice off a few pieces, fry them up, and serve them with red-eye gravy. Some families would cook smoked hog jowl instead. Same idea, different cut. Now here's one that'll get your attention. Groundhog. Yeah, you heard me right. Some old-timers actually called it possum on the half shell. And if you got one before it went into hibernation and fattened up on all them acorns and hickory nuts, it was supposed to be pretty good eating. I can't say I've ever tried it myself, but I've heard enough stories to know it was on plenty of Thanksgiving tables back in the day. And if somebody got lucky during hunting season, deer or bear meat would be the star of the show. Fresh venison, backstrap, or a bear roast. That was high living, let me tell you. The point is, Thanksgiving wasn't about having the right thing on the table. It was about making do with what God provided and being thankful you had anything at all. Now let's talk sides, because this is where mountain cooking really shines. Forget your green bean casserole with the canned soup. I'm talking about food that came straight from the garden, the root cellar, or hanging from a rafter in the kitchen. Leather breeches. In the late summer, women would string up green beans on thread and hang them to dry. Come November, you'd rehydrate those beans, cook them down with some fatback or a ham hock, and you had yourself a side dish that tasted like pure mountain comfort. Shuck beans. Those are the beans you let dry on the vine, then shuck out and cook low and slow. You'd serve those with some chow chow, that tangy relish made from the last of the garden vegetables. Sweet, sour, crunchy, perfect for cutting through all that rich meat. Cornbread, of course. Usually crackling cornbread if you'd just done a hog killing. Those crispy little bits of pork skin baked right into the cornbread. Lord have mercy, that's good eating. And for something sweet, you didn't have pumpkin pie. You had apple-stacked cake. Women would make thin layers of spiced cake and stack them with dried apples cooked down into a filling. The longer it sat, the better it got, as those apples soaked into the cake. Some families would make it a week before Thanksgiving just so it'd be perfect. Sweet potato casserole was around, but not the marshmallow version. I'm talking sweet potatoes baked with butter and sorghum molasses, or cooked right in the coals of the fireplace until they were caramelized and sweet as candy. This was food that told a story, the story of putting up enough in the summer to get you through the winter. Every dish on that table represented hard work, and that made it taste even better. There's been a good hard freeze, and Pawpaw says, it's time. The whole family gets up before dawn, and I mean the whole family. Neighbors come over. It's all hands on deck because you're about to turn a 300-pound hog into everything you'll eat for the next 6 months. By the time the sun comes up, that hog's been butchered and the real work begins. The women are rendering lard in big iron kettles over open fires. The men are cutting up hams and shoulders for the smokehouse. Kids are cleaning out the intestines for sausage casings. Yeah, that's as gross as it sounds, but everybody had a job. And the smell. The whole holler would smell like wood smoke and cooking meat. You could be a mile away and know somebody was killing hogs. Here's the thing. That fresh pork was your Thanksgiving feast. You'd have tenderloin that night, fresh and tender. The next morning, liver mush, hog liver mixed with cornmeal and spices, fried up crispy. Some people called it liver moosh, some called it liver pudding. But whatever you called it, it was breakfast. Nothing went to waste. The head became head cheese. The feet got pickled. The bladder got blown up like a balloon for the kids to play with. Even the squeal got used. At least that's what Pawpaw used to say. Thanksgiving and hog killing went hand in hand. You were thankful for that hog because you knew it was going to feed your family all winter long. So you've eaten yourself half to death. Now what? Well, if you were a kid in old-time Appalachia, the fun was just getting started. First off, there was the belching contest. Now, I know that sounds crude, but my pawpaw swore this was mandatory after Thanksgiving supper. The men would sit around and see who could let out the biggest burp, and whoever won got bragging rights for the year. Grandma would roll her eyes, but I think she thought it was funny too. If it wasn't too cold, the young folks would head outside for fox and hounds, a game where one group gets a head start with a lantern and the other group has to track them down through the woods. Y'all ever tried running through the mountains at night? It's a miracle nobody broke an ankle. And then there was the music. Somebody would pull out a fiddle, somebody else had a banjo, and before you knew it, there was a full-on jam session on the porch. Turkey in the Straw, Cripple Creek, Soldier's Joy, all the old tunes. People would dance, stomp, clap along. That music kept you warm, even when your breath was fogging in the air. Later in the night, once the fire was built up inside, that's when the storytelling started. Jack tales, ghost stories, memories of Thanksgivings past. Thanksgiving was one of the first really cold nights when everybody gathered inside, so it was the perfect time to spin a yarn or two. My favorite was always hearing Pawpaw tell about the time he and his brothers tried to steal a pie off the windowsill and Grandma's dog chased them all the way to the creek. Every year, that story got a little bit bigger. Now, Thanksgiving in the mountains wasn't just about family. It was about community, and the church was at the heart of all that. You ever heard of a pounding? That's when church members would bring a pound of this or that, a pound of flour, a pound of sugar, a pound of beans to families who were struggling. The Sunday before Thanksgiving, people would show up with bags full of food, and by the time they left, that family had enough to make it through the winter. Nobody made a big deal out of it. Nobody wanted thanks. It was just what you did. And Lord help you if the preacher decided to come home with you after service. Grandma would just about have a heart attack trying to get the good china out and make sure there was enough food. Didn't matter if she'd planned on leftovers for a week. If the preacher was coming, you pulled out all the stops. Then there was testimony night the Sunday before Thanksgiving. People would stand up in church and talk about what they were thankful for. Making it through another year, a good harvest, a baby being born, somebody getting healed. I'm telling you, there wasn't a dry eye in the house by the time it was over. That sense of gratitude, that sense of community. That is the heart of Thanksgiving in Appalachia. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk about how some families are keeping these traditions alive today, with a little modern twist. I know folks who still do the whole hog killing thing every November. I know families who make leather breeches and stack cake from their grandma's recipes. But I also know people who are adding their own spin, ramp, and morel stuffing. If you foraged ramps in the spring and dried them, and you got lucky with morels, you can make a stuffing that tastes like the mountains themselves. Pawpaw pudding instead of pumpkin pie. Pawpaws are this native fruit that tastes like a cross between a banana and a mango, and they make the best custard you ever tasted. Some folks are bringing back wild game to the table, not because they have to, but because they want to honor their heritage and eat more sustainably. The point is, you don't have to live in 1940 to have an Appalachian Thanksgiving. You just have to remember where you came from and be willing to do things a little differently than everybody else. So there you have it. Thanksgiving in Appalachia, the real story. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't perfect, but it was ours. It was about making do, being grateful, and taking care of each other. If you grew up with any of these traditions, drop a comment and let me know. I love hearing your stories. And if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next legend from the Holler. Before I go, I want to leave you with this. Thanksgiving ain't about having the biggest turkey or the fanciest decorations. It's about stopping long enough to say thank you for the food on your table, the roof over your head, and the people sitting around you. Thank you for watching Legends from the Holler. From my holler to yours, happy Thanksgiving. Now, go eat something good.